Namaste yogis, good afternoon. Welcome to Yoga Life. My name's Tania. I think I know most of you, and we are about to embark on a 60-minute journey yin side. So we are transitioning from the week of doing the daily pursuits into hopefully more space and sacred time for your weekend. And the Yin Yoga practice can mark a beautiful point where we just ease this transition through and into our bodies, but also into our minds. So we start to move into the headspace of retreating and relaxing. Today, we're going to work a little bit with the idea of hope and optimism. And it's easy to fall into a negative mindset, and we can use our practice just to change the way we think and see the world, and maybe shift a little bit of that negativity or blockages or stagnation. So with that said, I'm going to invite you to start in a seated position, and you're welcome to sit cross-legged, or you're welcome to sit in seiza, the Japanese seat. I like to straddle over top of a bolster to sit comfortably. We're going to be here for about 3 or 4 minutes. So please just set yourself up so that you can sit with relative ease. And if it's more comfortable for you, as I said, to sit cross-legged or against a wall, please know that you can go ahead and do that too. Good. So as you settle down into your seat, snuggle down, we're going to add some arms into our landing pose or our opening shape. I'm going to invite you to bring the arms behind you and either touch the fists together behind your back, or you might want to feel a little more sensation into your shoulders and upper chest. So you could cross the palms. You might hold the opposite wrists. You might hold the opposite forearms or elbows. Or some of you will be comfortable to sit with prayer hands, either facing up or down. So choosing what feels best for you this afternoon and what is going to bring you a feeling of sensation into your upper body, but nothing too sensational to start. We'll be here for about 3 minutes, sitting together quietly and landing into our bodies and onto our mats, and consciously making the transition from transmitting outward energy, doing and being in the world, into this more sacred space, quiet place. You can close or half close your eyes. Begin to draw the attention inside of you. And you might notice beneath the surface of your skin, the inner worlds, inner landscapes, your organs, muscles and bones. Again, encourages us to connect with the deeper parts of ourselves. We do spend a lot of time on the surface. So moving in to fully inhabit your body. Using the poses to come to understand your body better, come to understand yourself. You have about a minute left in this, your landing opening pose. You're welcome to release the hands at any time. And if you're still holding your arms behind your body, just let them relax down beside you or rest onto your thighs. And as you release the angel wings, you might notice some tingling through your upper arms, through your wrists, your forearms. Sitting with the sensations for about 5 breaths. You can bring your hands together in front of your heart as we sit together and set an intention for our practice. And today I invite you to work with a mantra. I trust in myself and the goodness of the world. I trust in myself and the goodness of the world. Notice how that settles in your bones, how that falls around you, if it resonates at all. And if it doesn't, please set your own intention for practice. A gentle practice in hope and in optimism. Trust in myself and in the goodness of the world. You can return your hands down onto your body or beside you. We're going to shift this pose now into our toe stand. So you might want to come off of your bolster if you're straddling it, and even bring it out in front of you so that you could bring your knees up onto it. This might help to alleviate some of the pressure in the toe stand pose. Some of you might not need the bolster underneath your knees or shins, and you might decide to have your knees pointing down, creating more pressure onto the creases of the toes and into the plantar fascia. Or you could use 2 blocks either side under your hands. We're going to have the opportunity to add a wrist stretch into this pose. So if toe stand is tricky for you, maybe come forward, rest your hands onto the earth, take a little bit of that pressure off. And you could turn your fingers to face outward or even toward your knees to add a wrist stretch. If toe stand feels quite easy for you, you're welcome to take the knees a little wider, and you could bring your arms out wide, flip the palms back and tuck the fingers into rib cage to sit in mother hen. And this will work to stretch the top of your wrists. So you can choose which action feels best for your body. And the primary focus on the lower limbs, your toes, but we can add the bonus stretch as well. So we're activating energy or chi to flow through our extremities, through your feet and through your hands. This is where all of our meridians start and finish. Our lower body and our upper body meridians stimulated through this action, through this work. An invitation to notice your body, to really drop into your body, bring physical presence. See if you can stay focusing on the present moment. You have a minute left in the pose. At any time, if you want to take the hands out of the pose, you can flip your wrists back, fingers back to face forward. You can return your hands to your thighs or beside your body. You have about 40 seconds left. About 4 or 5 more breaths. And then to come out of the pose, you will make your way into all fours or tabletop position. If you've got the bolster under your knees, you might want to take it out of the way. And once you're in tabletop, could you float the feet up just to feel the phase change happening through the connective tissue and the fascia? So as you float the feet, you might notice the tingling, the relief, the release as the energy washes back through and into the parts of your body that you have just restricted. And you're welcome to give your feet a little tap onto the earth. And you're welcome to rock your body forwards and back, side to side. You might even make a few circles around into the space of your hips. Sometimes our rebound is passive, and other times we use an active rebound just to move the energy through us a little more quickly. And as you settle back into the center of your tabletop, we'll move into a shoulder stretch for your right arm. So we're going to come into a thread the needle. Picking up your right hand, you'll send the right arm underneath your left and come to land onto your right shoulder, right ear. Left palm is down. Your hips can be low toward your sitting bones or lifted high up above your knees. You can place a block or a blanket under your right ear or shoulder if the floor feels a little hard. And you're in charge of bringing the weight forward or back to moderate how much sensation you feel on your shoulder. And some people like to bind or half bind the left arm in the pose. You're welcome to play with what you do with your left arm. You might also want to play with kickstanding the leg as well. So you have about 2 minutes left in the pose. And if you want to, you can send your left leg back behind you. You can send the leg out to the side in line with the hip and get a bonus stretch into the inner seam of your leg. So you may or may not want to add that in. Moving into the rolling panda variation. As you're coming into the pose, just continuing to stay curious. If you find your mind wandering, you can always come back to your sankalpa, your intention, or our shared mantra. I trust in myself and in the goodness of the world. You have a minute to go. If you found yourself over the past couple of years noticing feelings of fear and despair, both inside of yourself and for the earth, you can use the Yin Yoga practice, the mantra practice, just to help you to access your inner source of hope and optimism. If you've been feeling disheartened or stuck or in a muddy place, insecure, overwhelmed, just coming back into your body, back to your breath, can help. Take about 5 more breaths. Start to unravel your body really slowly. You're going to make your way into a rebound, probably on your belly or child's pose. Just make your way down softly and quietly if you can, so as not to disturb yourself or others. Taking your legs back can feel good to stretch out, or you might prefer child's pose if that's working for your body. You can make a pillow with your hands or your blanket and just rest your bones for a minute in between our sides. It's not wrong to feel. It's not wrong to notice these feelings and to feel concerned. It's not wrong to feel distressed or heartache. In fact, we are really right to feel these things. And you can start to reawaken gradually, little movements to your fingers and your toes. You might want to bend up the knees. If you're lying on your belly, you could press back for a stretch into tabletop or child's pose. If you're in child's pose, maybe walking your hands toward your knees and just lifting your body up in space for a few moments. Good. And then when you're ready and back, starting to set up the second side of your shoulder stretch. So remember, you do not have to practice the pose the same on both sides. Coming up to your knees and hands, you can take the left arm underneath the gap of the right and come to lie onto your left shoulder, left ear. Sometimes I use a block under my head to raise the floor. Sometimes I have my sitting bones low toward my heels. And other times I like to keep the hips high above the knees. So both of those actions will moderate the amount of downward pressure on your shoulder. Feel free to put a blanket or a bolster under your shoulder. Offer yourself the support if you need it. And then you're welcome to lift up the right arm and wrap it around and behind you if you feel that that feels beneficial. Welcome to keep it stabilizing you on the earth. You can play with extending the right leg as well, behind you or out to the side. Taking up space in your rolling panda, thread the needle pose. We are not wrong to feel emotions that are hard as well as emotions that are easy, because we are highly intuitive beings. We are sensitive, we are fragile. Many of us are empaths and feel the world deeply. We can sense the subtle currents of disharmony inside of ourselves and in our surroundings. You're in your final minute of the pose. Your last 5 or so breaths. And you're going to come out really gradually. Just plan your exit. Move one limb at a time. Coming into a rebound pose, a neutral position. Again, it might be child's pose. You might come into Seiza. You might lie on your tummy, stretch out long. And know that you have a minute in between your shapes to rest and digest, to set your body back to neutral. And just notice the after effects of the pose. You can reawaken gradually, small movements into your body, wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe stretch your arms overhead if you're on your back, or curl back into child's if you're on your belly. Again, if you're in child's pose, you might want to move a little. You could walk your hands around to the right or to the left or sit up. We're going to meet back in a kneeling position and start to set up for a back bend and a hip opener. So you might like some extra padding under the knees. And in order to get this, it can be helpful to turn side on. So you're facing the white wall or the door, just so that you've got the length of the mat under your knees, because you're going to take your knees wide apart. So I'm going to demonstrate facing this way so you can see, but you can bring the bolster ahead of you as well to catch your chest. As you come into your wide-kneed position, you can bring yourself over top of the bolster, or you might even just want to bring your elbows down onto the earth. So I would recommend starting in the tadpole pose with your toes touching. And then if you're not feeling much here, you can start to walk the lower legs out, take the knees wider, and drop into a bigger frog. So it might be that you're in more of a tadpole or a middle frog or a big frog. And then if you want some support under your belly, the bolster under chest, you're also welcome to lie flat onto your tummy, which can feel good for some people. You could add a back bend by coming up into a seal pose as well, which can also feel very nourishing as a back bend space, especially if you're quite externally rotated in your hips. So know that you've got about 3 minutes in frog. And as we come into this pose, you're nourishing the inner seams of your legs, the inner thighs and the groin, the outer hips. And you can let your belly soften to the earth and just allow yourself to concave a little through the spine. And it might just be a wide-kneed child's pose that brings you joy in this space. I trust in myself and in the goodness of the world. I'm settling into the pose that maybe brings deeper sensation and bring up discomfort, challenge, When these feelings come up, it's important that we recognize our body signaling. Maybe you've gone too far, you need to pull back. Or maybe the sensation feels medicinal and you want to explore it a little more. You have just over a minute left in frog pose. Maybe you're rocking your torso forward to feel more. Maybe you're drawing your hips back toward your heels to feel more. Maybe you're bringing your toes to touch, knees closer in to feel less. Whatever you want to feel, can you soften? Ultimately, we want to restore balance and harmony. Really plan your exit out of frog. This one can be tricky and sticky to get out of. And you might want to come into a rebound onto your back or again onto your tummy. I'll let you choose. And it's probably going to feel good to stretch your legs out and lie your spine flat after that deeper work into your spine and hips. As you come to a rebound pose, just finding a neutral position so that your body can soak up the benefits. Frog pose has many benefits, especially into our pelvic bowl, our reproductive system, our digestive system. Just a minute to come to understand the after effects of the pose. And you can reawaken just really gradually with some small movements to your fingers and toes. And it might be a stretch of your arms up above you, pointing and flexing your feet, a hugging of knees into chest, or a windscreen wiper from right to left. Then make your way over to one side and back up toward a seat. And as you come to sit, we're going to set up a 90-90 shape with our legs. So you'll bend up your right knee and pull your right heel in toward your groin. And then you'll bend your left knee, but send the left foot back to the sitting bones. So you're coming into deer or stag, and you can take the legs wide apart or have them close in. And you're welcome to put something under the sitting bone or the hip if it's hard to sit in this way. So we'll start with an upright twist in deer pose. You might need to take the feet out or bring them closer in. I'm just going to turn toward your right bent knee. You can hook your left hand over the knee and take the right arm back behind you. So we'll start here in the pose. Will be about 1.5 minutes in the twist. And you can soften your neck. You can relax your shoulders. You can just allow yourself to twist gradually around. And twisting helping to unwind your spine and your mind. Seeing if you could half close or close your eyes, just to keep the practice really internal. It's about 30 seconds to go. And then slowly just let yourself come back to face forward, almost like an elastic band, coming back to the center, your spine, just coming forward, leaving your legs as they are if you can. I'm going to let you choose between folding forward. You could turn toward your right knee and fold forward, or come through the center. Or some of you might prefer to fold back. So if you're wanting to stretch more into the quadriceps, and I would recommend, if you're folding forward, to bring the bolster in front of you so that you can catch your chest. And if you're folding back, you can bring the bolster behind you to catch your shoulders. And you might want to take your arms up overhead, and you may not need the bolster. You may be able to lie back with no support under your spine. So you can choose forward fold, soft, yin like, wintry. And you might want to twist your forward fold a little around to the right or to the left. This will action more attention to your right hip and thigh. And the back bend is going to bring more attention to your left quadricep and into the space of your heart. So whichever action you've chosen, there's no right or wrong, there's just a choice. The one that brings you into the experience with presence and ease. And if you feel that you made the wrong choice, you can always change. Put something under your hands just to rest them so they're not dangling. You have 2 minutes left in your pose. Both of the shapes have very different energetic structures. You can explore going deeper, removing the bolster. You might need to pull back if you've come too far. Can you settle deeper into your body with every passing moment? Final 40 seconds. If your arms are overhead, bring them back down beside you. If you're folded forward, just creep your hands back in toward your body. And please take your time to come out. If you're lying on your back and you can extend the legs out, just do that. If you're needing to lift up and lengthen out, coming into a rebound pose. And just letting yourself find a place of rest in between our sides. Take about 5 more breaths. As that breath becomes deeper, start to bring some life back into your body, little movements of your fingers and toes. Stretch or bend your knees, hug in. Just taking your time to move your body, yourself back up into space, and we'll set up for our deer pose legs. Your left knee will be bent forward, your right knee will be bent back, heel coming in toward your sitting bone. And totally fine if your body's a little uneven. You can always wedge something underneath the hip if it is. We'll start with our upright twist, turning toward your left knee. You can take the right hand over top, the left hand behind. Sometimes I even like to have the bolster just to rest my left hand onto. As you twist, try to twist from your upper spine. Try to keep your belly soft. Relax your head, your neck. You can kind of hunch into the body as much as you need. We're not forcing the movement or action around. About 30 seconds to go. Good. And then slowly just turning back to face forward, letting your spine come back to that more neutral position. You can keep your legs as they are. And then we'll spend the final 3 minutes in the deer pose, folding forwards or leaning back. So again, you could add your bolster in front of your body to catch. You could bring it behind you. You might even need to lift it up a little higher, putting it on an incline, resting it under the shoulder blades. So if you're leaning back, it's more of a back bend. Your right quadricep, front of thigh is on stretch. And if you're folding forward, you might feel it more to your left outer hip, glute. Again, both of the poses have very different energetics. I trust in myself and in the goodness of this world. About 2 minutes left. If you want to lower the bolster, lower the props, bring your arms up overhead, you could. You can also bring heel onto thigh for more weight. If you like that, sometimes it slips. That's no, it's still slipping. Does that feel good? Does that feel good? Yeah. You can slowly start to come out of your pose, whether you're folded forward or back, and just make your way onto your spine. As you come to lie down, make sure that your yoga belt is nearby, maybe your bolster and your blocks too. And then stretching out long, take up space, let your spine be supported by the earth underneath you, the back of your head, the back of your shoulders resting heavy. And your belly can soften to release any residual tension you're holding in your gut. And those of you that would like an extra long Shavasana, you have about 9 minutes spanning ahead of you. You could set that up now so you can rest, meditate, become quiet. If you would like one more pose, just start to rock your head from right to left. Bring a little bit of movement back into your fingers and toes. And we're going to set up for the double hammock or leg in strap. If you don't have a yoga belt, you could bring your feet up to the sky or take your feet against or legs against a wall. Those of you who have the yoga belt could get the added bonus of a neck stretch too, bending up your knees, lifting your feet, bringing the block around the balls of your feet, and then lifting your head and sliding the block just into the base of the skull. So it sits just above your ears and cradles the back of your head. You can use the feet to push a little into the block to stretch the back of your neck. You can let your head be heavy to stretch the back of your hamstrings. And any time if you need to release the pose, the legs up, please just take your feet back to earth and remove the strap. Totally fine if your head is touching the earth, it may not float. It's about finding that sweet spot between effort and ease so that you can use the strap as a container to hold your body in space. Trust in myself and in the goodness of the world. About a minute to go if your legs are up. And slowly Just reaching for the belt. You can bend up your knees. You can unhook it from your feet and your head. And start to let yourself settle down into your mat for your final pose. This will be your resting pose. Making any final adjustments to your body. Stepping into the softest, most loving aspect of your being. And guarded and ready to receive and give love. Your Shavasana. You can begin to deepen your breath. Bring your body back to life gradually, small movements into your fingers and toes where we started our practice. Noticing your feet and your fingers. Okay. Stretch your arms overhead, maybe bend your knees. Take a roll across the space of your lower back. If there's a disinclination to move, just stay as you are for as long as you need. Rolling onto your side, head resting into your arm. When it's time for you, return back to a comfortable seat. You can keep your eyes closed and bring your hands together in front of your one precious, fragile, beautiful heart. And we sit together honoring this time spent in self-care as we paid intimate attention to our bodies. We perhaps notice some things of interest, and we can make informed choices that help this practice to transform and to heal. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let there be peace. And to ourselves and to each other. Namaste. Thank you, beautiful yogis. I hope you enjoyed your Yin Yoga transition and that you are now moving into some more quiet space. Time for you, time for self-care. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Suze. Thank you, beautiful Annie. We'll see you all soon.